Coming up in this hour, we're going to be talking more, of course, about the ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. He's going to appear alongside his wife in a New York court later today, about 5 p.m. UK time. He's facing charges of narco-terrorism, conspiracy and cocaine trafficking. He was seized by US forces on Saturday after Donald Trump authorised a raid by those special forces on the South American country, resulting in the capture of Maduro and his wife. Now, Donald Trump has declared the US will now run the oil-rich country. He hasn't said for how long. Maduro's vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, she's been sworn in as president to serve as the interim leader. And after she made some sort of, fighting sounds, she was told in no uncertain terms, basically, you're going to do as you're told, sweetheart, or you're going to face a worse fate than Maduro. Meanwhile, Donald Trump not just threatening action in neighbouring Colombia, also another major drug trafficking cartel organisation there, but also he's now setting his sights on the takeover of Greenland, which he says is for defence reasons. That raises a lot of concerns. Of course, Greenland is a Danish territory. You're then dealing with the EU at that point. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. In particular, was Donald Trump right or wrong to launch a military raid to arrest the Venezuelan leader? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Was he right? Was he wrong? Tell us why. Tell us why you think he was, why he wasn't. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. And also, what do you make of Keir Starmer's response? He's refused to describe Trump's actions as a breach of international law. He's basically sitting on the fence, as frankly he's probably wise to do. But he's got growing criticism from, let's face it, the usual suspects on the Labour backbenches. We're also going to be talking about the latest migrant stories. My goodness me, there are plenty of those. Not only Alaa Abdu El Fattah, the British-Egyptian activist who, of course, was basically the number one priority, would appear, for Britain's Foreign Office for much of the last few months to try and get him freed. Yesterday, Keir Starmer said he didn't know that he tweeted all these really rather terrifying things about his hatred of the West, of Jews, and wanting to kill people in the West, particularly Jews. But apparently he doesn't really regret the fact that Britain helped to extricate this man from an Egyptian jail. But also going to talk about migrants having their mobile phones and SIM cards seized by Border Force officers if they arrive on boats as of today. If there are reasonable grounds to suspect there is intelligence that could lead to the prosecution of people smugglers. Surely that is everybody who arrives illegally in this country. But a thing that absolutely astonishes me is it was not already being done. What on earth is our Mickey Mouse Border Force been doing all this time? Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of the big stories. Plenty more to talk about. And joining me throughout the show for all those big stories is commentator Sam Armstrong. Morning once again to you.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Just on that last story, I mean, it is extraordinary. The latest major story they put out, the border sort of minister today from the Home Office to do the rounds.
Monday.
It is a Monday. Going to seize phones from small boat migrants if there might be intel. Why were we not already doing that? You can seize the phone of somebody who wrote a tweet, for goodness sake. How can't you seize the phone of somebody who's arriving illegally? And they're going to be allowed to search their mouths inside to see if they've got SIM cards in there. I mean, are they going up the jacksies as well? Because it would seem to me that would be a good thing to do too.
Well, look, in a sense, pathetic, reasonable. We're starting 2026 much the same way as we spent 2025. Monday morning, government announcing press release saying that they've solved migration this time. But compare and contrast, and I'm going to say this all day today, I'm probably going to say all of this year, compare and contrast our efforts to stop the border, to stop illegal crossings on the border, with what the United States did.
Ta-da.
The United States did absolutely everything they needed to do all at once, one big go. We said, bang, we are not going to have people crossing into our country illegally anymore. If you do, we are going to detain you for as long as we so choose, and we're going to get you out. No ifs, no buts,
and we're
no
going to
questions.
round up the people who've been here for years.
We're going to do the lot. And the result, the illegal crossings into the United States, one of the biggest movements of people anywhere on earth, stopped on a sixpence.
Yeah.
Almost immediately, Donald Trump entered office, that problem stopped. Our government, constrained by the complete and utter nonsense of this human rights framework, laws, Equality Act, all of this gargantuan Gordian knot, spends its life trying to unpick it and gets absolutely nowhere. And in the meantime, our country every day gets inexorably worse as criminals break into our country, demand the right to stay here at our expense. And frankly, even if it wasn't at our expense, there was pictures out over the weekend of a Albanian burglar who has been convicted and deported from this country twice for being a professional burglar. He's now posting TikToks from luxury clubs in London, nightclubs in London. That is the joke our country has become. Compare and contrast that to what is going on in the United States. They see a problem, they fix it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, and so many people are looking at Donald Trump. Again, you can like him, you can loathe him, I don't care, but he gets the job done, and he was elected on a mandate to do exactly what he's done. And certainly, if Nigel Farage is elected, or whoever, whether it's a Tories, who knows what's going on, coalition next time round, if and when we get an election again. I mean, the Labour do seem to like cancelling elections, so one does worry that you know, they need to have a clear mandate to do this stuff and to get it done with the support of the British people. Where are you on Donald Trump getting it done when it comes to not happy with what's going on in Venezuela, not happy with 3 million of the 8 million exiles and the refugees who've left Venezuela as it's become a basket case country run by a kleptomaniac, corrupt, violent, dangerous drug cartel leading president in Nicolas Maduro, saying basically, well, we're just going to take you out, we're just going to send in our people, we're going to, you know, extract you and send you to court for your crimes. And these crimes, I mean, I'm sorry, it's indisputable that this man is a drug dealing corrupt creature. I mean, he's absolutely awful, and thank God he's out of office now. But actually just getting the job done, not whinging and moaning about it, not talking about international courts, all that, just getting it done. Now, the outcry we've seen from the left and the usual suspects is sort of, the international rules order, you can't do this. You're basically saying it's okay for you know, Putin and Xi Jinping and anyone else to do whatever they want, and now they're going to be emboldened to act as they want. These people will do whatever the hell they want to do anyway. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump decided that this guy was a danger to America, and he dealt, you know, he says it, as he said, he effed around and he found out.
The rules-based international order was, let's be frank, a convenient fiction that allowed us to pretend that the world had all of a sudden become safer, that human beings had stopped wanting to invade places and to take over countries and to have little empires. The reality is this: the only thing that stops a bad guy with an army is a good guy with a bigger army. And the United States has secured the West for 40, 50, 60, 70, even 80 years, basically, by just being the biggest force out there. The world is changing. And Donald Trump has shown that as this new reality asserts itself, he is prepared to do what it takes to keep the American people safe. And at the end of the day, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I'm a Brit. What he does is frankly, it's not a matter for me to judge. It's irrelevant to me. The people who voted him in are Americans that do live in parts of the country that have been ravaged, absolutely ravaged by illegal drugs, illegal migrations, both of which Maduro was sending their way. It was a problem for him, so he went and sorted it.
He dealt with the source of the problem. I mean, but it is interesting, isn't it? Because we often talk about dealing with the source of the problem of, say, illegal migrants in this country. We need to help, you know, build better nation states in Africa and the Far East.
How's that going?
Yeah, exactly. That's not our job. And as we've discovered in cases like Iraq and Afghanistan, you actually can't impose democracy on these places. And the difference about Venezuela is Venezuela was a thriving, rich democracy. Back in the 70s, it was one of the wealthiest countries per capita in the world because of its oil resources. And they have just been absolutely, plundered and stolen. But what is extraordinary is how little of their oil reserves, the biggest oil reserves in the world, 70% of all oil reserves, known oil reserves in the world, are in Venezuelan territory. They're pumping like 1 million barrels a day, like nothing compared to countries like Saudi Arabia. We've got far less oil.
But they should be like the sheikhs of Saudi Arabia, right? Like the best evidence you've ever got that socialism doesn't work is Venezuela. But you should be having 4 or 5 English Premier League football teams owned by Venezuelan businessmen.
Well, we're going to be talking to a brilliant guest at midday, actually. He's a Venezuelan exile, one of the many, and talking about, what Maduro did to the country. It is absolutely infuriating to me, all the coverage over the weekend, especially from the mainstream media, about they just basically just skirt over Maduro's crimes within his country, and not just the economic crimes, you know, the theft of people's personal property. He wasn't just stealing, you know, multi-billion pound, you know, oil corporations and then running them into the ground. They literally basically stopped production. He would literally just steal people's farms, people's homes. They would just say, no, we own that shop now, you don't own it, even something you've built up as your own business for years. People living hand to mouth, people literally having to eat their own pets. Because they were so hungry in a South American country that was only sort of 10 years, 20 years earlier, or the richest in the world. That is down to socialism, and not even just corruption and drug running, because there's corruption and drug running, frankly, in the whole of that South American area, and the people are not living in the same level of destitution. So we're going to talk about what he's actually done. This man is an absolute criminal. Absolutely, really glad he's gone. What do you make of all the usual suspects, the Richard Bergens, the Jeremy Corbyns, Emily Thornberry, who's, to be fair, got a proper job, chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, when she didn't get any jobs in cabinet because everyone realised how bleeding awful she was. She thought she was big mates with Starmer and was absolutely outraged not to get the job she thought she was due. But they're all doing the usual stuff, saying, you talk about the international rules-based order and how this was a terrible thing, and how Keir Starmer needs to stop sitting on the fence and he needs to condemn. He needs to condemn what Donald Trump did.
I split that group of people into two halves, the deluded and the disingenuous. The deluded are those like Emily Thornberry, which, I mean, let's be clear, Emily has never been the brightest bulb in the chandelier, as it would be for her. Look, she believes that this rules-based international order it exists and it can be maintained. She's wrong, but she's not necessarily malicious about it. Richard Bergens, your Absana Begums, this group of people are part of a very well organised leftist international movement that funds itself, it's very closely coordinated and directed, that never fails to identify an enemy of Britain, of America, and not sympathise with them. Yeah. These are the same people that are urging caution in Iran. These are the same people that are pushing China's interests. These are the same people that are backing Hamas, that backed Hezbollah. This is a well-organised movement that is often funded by the Chinese Communist Party, forces in Russia that are just determined to stir up chaos, that whenever something happens are always calling on the West to not do what it needs to do to protect itself. I saw a brilliant photo that someone mocked up on Tinterweb yesterday, where it was a big outside in a crowd and a big stall saying, exchange your Palestinian flags for Venezuelan flags here, and that is totally true. It's like, what's the next big cause? Remarkably quiet though around the Iranian protesters, and we've seen the Iranian government has started to basically, shoot, and we're talking about, pellets, basically shooting protesters in the eye. They're blinding people. This apparently is a known sort of policy of the Iranian government, dealing with the protesters, basically just seeking to go back to some semblance of a normal life. And give it again another basket case economy and horrific, Islamist rule. And it is just extraordinary how quiet all these people are who care desperately about people in Gaza, but really not that bothered about people being subjugated in Iran. Yeah, and actually what really strikes me is that both Iran and Venezuela were once upon a time the absolute jewels of their respective regions. Yeah. Persia, as it was under the Shah, which, don't get me wrong, number of problems, but broadly speaking, one of the most prosperous, one of the better governed parts of that region, and Venezuela, which was on its way to being the real jewel, possibly wealthier than the United Kingdom.
We would be talking about emigrating there, to have a better life.
Can you imagine Venezuela if it had been properly run? Yeah. There would be so much money. A Christian country, can drink as much as you like, beaches
great
all
weather.
Up the Gulf of America as it is now, jungle, rainforest.
I'm there.
Oh, it would have been fabulous. But these are two countries that have been ruined by the twin evils of our time. Socialism, the red, and Islamism, the green. And wherever these two ideas touch, countries are destroyed overnight, and the sooner we can wake up to that and just deal with these countries, deal with these ideas as the hideous snakes and problems that they are, the better.
This is one of the issues, particularly the socialism issue, in how much we've got to do the new New York mayor being elected. We've got, I mean, again, you look at what's happening in Europe, parties are moving to the right, but there's also voters moving to the left as well. I mean, certainly in France, everyone's on the far left or the far right, pretty much. But we see here, the move towards sort of people thinking that socialism is a good idea, socialism is the answer. And with the cost of living crisis that we are seeing across the Western world, you can understand why people say, well, something's not right. That person over there is a billionaire getting loads of money and I haven't got enough money. People can't get a job. Keir Starmer today is doing his latest reset. I mean, again, 50 millionth, I don't know, I lose track. This is about the cost of living. He's basically saying we're turning a corner and in 2026 people are going to start feeling better off. Now, we've seen the latest figures. We know unemployment is rising to EU-style levels because, interest rates are down. Well, that's got all to do with the government. That's the Bank of England. And they're still too high for a lot of people coming off those fixed-rate mortgages. We know that with the minimum wage and national insurance rises have absolutely stymied the chances of lots of young people getting on the ladder to get a job. So we've got unemployment going up. We've got, house prices are still, they ain't going down, so people can afford to buy homes. There's no question at all. You go to the supermarket, your money does not go as far as it used to go. People are feeling the pinch. People's savings have been gradually depleting. If they're lucky enough to have savings, a lot of that money is gone. Energy bills are still absolutely sky high. People can see it, and he's saying it's all going to get better. It's not going to get. There's nothing that Labour has done in the last two budgets, any other policies they're talking about, that would in any way suggest that things would get better.
I was told about a senior British politician who sat down with one of the wealthiest men in America, and the wealthiest man in America just turned to him the other day and he said, describe in less than 1 minute what the UK's industrial or economic strategy is for the next 30 years. And that politician was just silent and he laughed. He said, look, you don't have an economic strategy. There isn't an economic plan. There is no ideas. There's no progress being made. The UK economy is in relative, as in compared to other countries, total and absolute irreversible decline.
But one of the main reasons for that is energy costs, because you can't manufacture, you can't make anything. And also, by the way, we can't have a future in AI, which the Prime Minister is convinced we're going to do, without plentiful, cheap energy. And again, this is one of the reasons...
But be specific, Julia. Energy costs, what are they? Energy, it is not just that the fact that gas and oil are more expensive than they have been, though they are. It is the fact that when you pay for your energy at home, you are paying 5% VAT. You're paying hundreds of pounds to allow Ed Miliband to go and open up new wind farms. You're paying for the fact that wind farms cost a load more to make energy. It is very specific policies that were decided by successive governments, Labour and Conservative, that have made it incredibly expensive to do anything.
This ties back in with what Donald Trump has done in Venezuela. Now, America is the biggest oil-producing country in the world. But they want particular kind of heavy crude oil that Venezuela has. They export a lot of their oil. They have more light crude oil. Now, here's the crucial thing, though. But he knows if you want to get ahead of China on AI, you need very cheap energy. What is the main source of energy in the entire world still to this day and will be for the rest of the century? It is fossil fuels like oil and gas. It is just that simple. You cannot have a thriving economy. I mean, again, that's why Europe, the whole of Europe is absolutely... I'm trying to think of a word I can say on air that's louder, but not in a good way. Not in a good way, because the powerhouse economy of Europe is Germany, and they are still completely insane when it comes to the net zero policy. While you still have even a scintilla of interest in net zero, you are not going to be one of the world's leading economies. China, India, lots of other countries, they are going to zoom ahead of us. It's absolute madness. What do you make of this talk about Keir Starmer basically betraying British voters on Brexit, because he's even got some of his red wall seat Labour MPs saying, not on my watch. Pledge was very, very clear, would not try and turn back Brexit, which is, of course, what they were absolutely trying to do in the 2019 general election. And he's sort of saying, no, we just want closer alignment to Europe. There's no doubt at all in my mind, were there to be an attempt to actually take us back into the EU. It could only be done, as we were discussing with our Labour guest Paul Richards a few moments ago, it can only be done with a referendum. And that referendum would only come about if there was a mandate for that referendum. So a party would have to say in their manifesto at the next general election, we are going to hold a referendum on returning to the EU. And then they would have to get the majority, and then they could have the referendum, and then we'd have a vote. There's no doubt at all that the EU would, we'd lose that Thatcher rebate for a start. They would charge us an absolute fortune to rejoin. The terms would be terrible, but crucially, one of the requirements for new members is categorically nothing to discuss. You have to join the euro. Again, another failing currency. Tied to the economic concerns of Germany rather than the economic concerns of the UK. There is no way in the world the British people would vote for that. They're not crazy. But there's no doubt at all that Labour Party entirely almost now, Liberal Democrats, the Greens, and a large number of Tories as well would love to rejoin the EU. Do you think it'll ever happen?
No, I think what's going to happen is exactly what's going on at the moment, which is they're going to try and get us back in through salami slices. They're going to get us in
without really noticing.
One little bit at a time. And you could see what's going on. And by the way, when we do that, the EU makes us pay even more.
Yeah. But that'll be the argument. Well, we're rule takers, not real makers.
But we're going to get screwed on this, and I don't apologise for using that language because it's going to cost us enormous amounts of money. It's going to damage businesses when we have to make sacrifices. And what is the industry Keir Starmer is trying to benefit here? It was in the article straight up in what Labour said. It was the legal services industry.
Brilliant.
Literally, Keir Starmer is putting the interests of lawyers in North London ahead of the people across this country that got up this morning, that had to get the kettle out and pour the boiling water over the windscreen to try and...
Don't think you should do that. By the way, do not do that, people.
Don't do anything practical that I recommend.
Do not do that.
As a rule. But people who got up early, worked hard to go and work as plumbers and gas fitters and all the rest of it, they are paying because Keir Starmer, himself a North London lawyer, has decided to put the interests of his mates ahead of the people of this country again.
Let's help the middle class professionals more than anyone else. Yeah, exactly.